Hey, welcome. So today we're going to dig into an idea that honestly sounds completely backwards. What if I told you that in a super high stakes game like trading, the secret to actually winning wasn't about working harder, but about working, well, almost not at all?
Look, we've all been there, right? We're taught that the more you grind, the more you get. So you picture it, 70 hours a week, you're just glued to a screen, watching every little flicker of the market. You're running on caffeine and just pure fear of missing the next big move. It's the hustle. But for so many people, it's just a one-way ticket to burnout, not to profits.
Okay, now, what if the real path to making money looked like this? Just 3 hours for the entire month. Yeah, that's it. It sounds absolutely insane, doesn't it? How on earth could cutting your effort by like 95% actually lead to better results? Well, that's the big question we're going to answer today.
To really get how this works, we first have to understand the trap that so many people fall into. And for that, let's talk about a trader named Daniel. His story is the perfect example of working way, way harder, but definitely not smarter.
Daniel was on the hamster wheel. He was doing everything he thought you were supposed to do, right? Putting in those brutal hours, watching every single move. But his trading account was just bleeding out. And the more he worked, the more desperate he got to just find one winning trade, which, of course, made all his decisions more and more emotional. It was a total downward spiral.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. See, the problem for Daniel wasn't a bad strategy or not having enough information. The real enemy was psychological. It was what was going on inside his own head. That constant pressure to make something happen was creating the very desperation that was making him fail.
So how do you break a cycle like that? You need a radical change, something that just feels completely wrong at first. And that something is the 15-minute rule.
The rule itself is just incredibly simple. You're only allowed to look at your charts for 15 minutes in the morning and then another 15 minutes in the evening. That's it, 30 minutes a day total. And the rest of the time, you are absolutely forbidden from looking. No peeking. So the big question is, does this ridiculously simple idea actually work? Well, by following this exact method, traders saw a profit of 34%. And get this, it wasn't because they found some magic new indicator. It was because they totally changed their relationship with their work.
Okay, so that all sounds pretty great in theory, but how do you actually do it? What does it look like in practice? Let's break down the actual steps, because it's a simple, repeatable process.
It really is this straightforward. First, you open your charts and you start a timer. You've got 15 minutes, that's it. In that time, you analyze, you decide. If you see a trade you like, you set your orders to get in and out, or maybe you set an alert. And then, and this is the most critical part, you close your laptop and you walk away. You literally do not think about it again until your next 15-minute slot, about 12 hours later.
And now we get to my favorite part, the why. Why does this counterintuitive idea work so well? It all comes down to psychology. Specifically, you're using the power of scarcity to your own advantage.
Think about it. When you have 70 hours a week, you feel this immense pressure to find trades everywhere. You start seeing patterns in the random noise. But when you only have 15 minutes, you don't have time to second-guess or overanalyze. You are forced to look for only the clearest, most obvious setups. It just strips the desperation out of the equation and replaces it with cold, hard patience.
Let's just put it side by side. On one hand, you have the 70-hour mindset. It's driven by desperation, it leads to you forcing trades based on emotion, and it's just constant noise. But on the other side, you've got the 15-minute mindset. It creates patience. You're not hunting for trades anymore, you're just calmly waiting for the really obvious ones to show up. And when they do, the signal just pops right out of the noise. It becomes clear.
So, what this all really leads to is a completely different way of thinking. It's a philosophy that's built not on the hustle and grind culture, but on the incredible power of doing less, intentionally.
And here is the absolute key takeaway. The goal isn't to work less just so you can be lazy. The goal is to work less so you can think better. Success here didn't come from more screen time or more analysis. It came from creating the mental and emotional space that was needed for good, clear-headed decisions to feel obvious. And that kind of leaves us with one last big thought. You know, we focused on trading here, but this principle applies everywhere. So I want you to ask yourself, in your own work, in your life, where are you just spinning your wheels out of desperation? What's the one thing you're doing where applying a little intentional scarcity, where putting in maybe 95% less effort, might just give you the clarity you need to get a much, much better result? Something to think about.